Welcome in to episode 2 of Inside Humboldt Basketball with head coach Ronald Abernathy. And Coach, first off, thanks again for sitting down with us. You've had quite the momentous couple of weeks here that we're going to unpack, but overall, pretty satisfied with where you're sitting right now.
Yeah, very, very satisfied with where we're sitting right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we'll look over this schedule and we'll kind of go game by game here. As last week we talked, or the last episode a couple weeks ago, we talked about our big wins at Union City and also the big home win versus Haywood. And I think we may have covered Gibson County because that was that same week. But you traveled to Covington, and that was a game that on the road was going to be a little bit of a challenge, but your team rose to the challenge. Why don't you kind of give us some highlights from that night?
Well, we actually, it was a great game. I guess we came in. We didn't start very well.
Right.
And maybe about halftime we did a little bit better, but we didn't make that transition, that change until we came out in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And with a little different mindset and a little different attitude. I guess we were actually down at one point, 21 points down, I believe.
Yes, sir. I was going to mention that. It seemed like you were down by as many as 21, and for them to battle back on the road, pulling out a 48-47 win, says a lot about this team.
Well, it does. It does. That particular night, it just showed us the attitude that they do not like to lose. And that was a great game, a great comeback, the way they stick to it. And of course, our defense got us back in the game. And then, of course, as we got back into the game, that our offense became a little bit more efficient.
Over the Thanksgiving holiday, you were able to go to the Jerry Peters Classic there at Memphis University School. And you opened that tournament with a big win over Westwood. And, Westwood's no slouch. No. And for this team to go in there and beat them 63-44 started raising some eyebrows and making people realize that this is a different style team.
Well, anytime you go into Memphis to play, and you play a Memphis team, they live and die.
That's right.
Basketball. And anytime you play a Memphis team, you got to be ready, because if not, you'll get beat. You have to be prepared. And I thought we did an excellent job against Westwood because they were pretty good. I mean, they had two big kids, and compared to ours, but we did a very good job defensively again, and was able to be pretty efficient offensively, but did a great job, and that was a great win for us against Memphis Westwood. And
24 hours later, back on the court, Memphis University School over that tournament, playing Memphis University, and they got the better of us in that tournament, or that game, 60-49. What do you think happened? What caused it to go that way?
Well, I thought that we did a good job. I still think we did a great job against a team like Memphis University School, who recruits and a private school, big school. The difference for them was physicality in us. They were a lot longer, a lot bigger. And of course, they're supposed to be, because that's the kind of school they are. But again, I thought we played great. We played great front court defense, because they had a real problem getting the ball across. And then, of course, in the crunch time, they made some real big shots. But their two guard was about 6'4", and he was big and strong, and he made some crunch shots, when we were, getting back in. But I still thought we did a great job of competing and a great job of hanging in there against a bigger, stronger, more physical team than we were.
So it sounds like to me you brought back a lot of positives. Even though it was a loss, you brought back a lot of positives to look at and say that the team has improved in a lot of areas. You talk about stronger and more physical. Is there a way that we can coach or improve that, or is it just the makeup of the players?
It was just the makeup of the team, because, you talk about, as someone reminded me, those kids are from all over the country, and that was the makeup of their team. And like I said, those players are from all over the country. Yeah. And so, it's kind of hard when you're dealing with a little locale of a single A Humboldt compared to MUS in their international flavor.
Right, and I guess that leads me up to this last tournament, the Hoop Fest over at TCA, sponsored by Tennessee Report. I guess I didn't realize that it wasn't TCA really putting that tournament on. It was actually Tennessee Report, and they just used the TCA gym. They rent that gym, and it seemed like from the get-go, and I just wrote this article today for the Chronicle, it felt like one of the very few things that went our way was the opening tip-off. Right. We got the opening tip-off. From there, we talked off air before we started tonight. They had a big guy that was very good.
Very good.
But it just seemed like maybe our starters, we weren't as cohesive as I've seen us play in the past.
No, we were not. And, one of the bigger things, too, is they were a very good basketball team.
Oh, yes.
Very disciplined, very focused, in tune. Of course, they 2A also.
That's right.
And the coach had told me that those kids have been together since they were 8th or 9th graders. And they won the state tournament last year. And they 2A, and they were solid. And, of course, I thought the major difference was their big guy.
Sure.
He was solid. He played well. We haven't stopped him yet.
Yeah.
But he was a big factor, and I thought we competed, but we kind of emptied our bench at halftime, right after the half, because our starters didn't seem to be playing, so we switched out, and our kids who came off the bench did a great job.
I highlighted that in the article.
Excellent job, and picking up the slack and continuing to play and continuing to compete.
It felt like there for a minute we were trying to get back. I mean, it really did. That second string really putting that effort in there, and then, like you said, just the solid play. Yes. Some plays are just hard to guard against, especially when you got the big guy like that.
Yes. Well, when they're good.
Yes.
When they're good like him, he was very fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
Could score, rebounded real well, blocked a couple of shots.
Yes, he did.
So he was good, and again, it was a good competitive game for us.
And then the next day we go from 2A to 3A, and you play Memphis Hamilton,
right.
And yet it was like maybe those kids needed that game the night before. I look at the Jerry Peters Classic. You win game 1, you lose game 2.
Right.
This is the first time that this team has lost the first game of a tournament.
Right.
And in 24 hours had to get back on the court.
Right.
And I said it to you in that interview after the game. I wanted to see how these kids responded. I wondered how they would respond. They haven't been in that place.
Right.
And, boy, did they ever respond.
Yeah, they did. A great, tremendous job. Again,
man,
you playing Memphis Hamilton, a 3A school out of Memphis.
Right.
Going to always be talented. They're going to always be able to play. And in order to beat them, you have to play. You have to have a good game. And we had a great game on Saturday against Memphis Hamilton.
It's been a long time since this team has scored 26 points in the first quarter.
I know.
I mean, things must have just been falling. I missed that game. The night before, let me go back to that before I finish this with Hamilton. But, it didn't seem like shots were falling. I mean, that was one thing. Is it shot selection?
Right. No. We just got to hit the shots that we take.
Okay.
Our offense is designed to give you the open shot.
Okay.
And the difference in winning and losing is making those shots. And we missed a lot of layups, a lot of 5-footers, a lot of putbacks. We missed a lot of those on Friday night.
One of the things the officer that went with us, Officer Hudson, he said, man, those kids, he said, it reminded me of old school basketball. He's talking about Jackson County, how they would square up with the goal.
Right.
Their shots just looked different.
Well, they were old school, fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
They were. And for us, we just – like I said, we have open shots, and you got to, in order to win, you have to make those open shots.
So the difference in those two games is really how we shot in the second game. And you scored 26, 22, 20, and 13, which that 13 can be skewed because I've got a feeling there was some players that were put in there at the end of that game. So you can't see everything from a score sheet. But, I mean, Coach, I look at Kendrick Taylor, the senior, ending that second game with 27 points. He knocked down 4 3-point shots, according to my quick tally. He went 100% from the free throw line, 3 for 3, hitting all 3 of those in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Was that down the stretch?
No, he hit some tough ones right at the beginning, down the stretch. He shot very, very well.
Okay.
Shot very, very well, particularly well, and it's basically, as we told him after the game, which is what we're trying to do. He's got to hit those open shots because he gets a lot of them.
Oh, he does.
He gets a lot of them, and if he can be more proficient, we can be better because you got to hit them. And then, of course, some of the other kids, we missed a little 5-footers, missed a little short jumpers, missed a putback, so we got to make those.
And we missed. I mean, I think in the first half of that first game of the tournament, we were trying to hit quite a few threes there to start, and then they kind of settled in and started shooting the closer shots. Because Jackson County was going to say, until you start hitting those, we're going to let you keep shooting.
And exactly, that's what they were doing to us.
Yeah,
they exactly was doing that, and And of course, we didn't hit them.
No.
And of course, that parlayed into the results.
And then another thing, again, I would encourage people to read that article here coming out in the Humboldt Chronicle very soon. It should be coming out this week, probably even as early as tomorrow night. I think it hits the news. The fouls was just crazy. I mean, 17 or 16 called against us. I think I counted 3 on the other side. It's hard to believe that it was really that lopsided, but but you made a statement, and I appreciated this from a coach standpoint. It's still not an excuse.
No, it's not, and we can't fuss about the officials and what they do. We have to adjust.
Yeah,
and we have to bring our A game.
And you say that, adjust, because some referee crews let you play as physical as you want to play.
Right.
And then others, it seems like the tic-tac, hand check.
It is. I call it one way for one team and then the other team, and it's just kind of inconsistencies.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But then the last game you played in that tournament, I think both teams ended up with about 16, 17 fouls, if I counted right.
Right.
And we were way on the other side of that as far as in the victory side. We were winning by big, kind of like Jackson County did against us.
Right.
So I agree with you. I don't think you can really necessarily say, if you put it all in the officials' hands, you probably hadn't done something right anyways,
Right.
But it's been a great start at the season, 6-2.
Yes.
And we're just getting started. I mean, you still got another month and a half of basketball before we start really looking, actually 2 months of basketball before we start looking at how the region's playing out and districts playing out. And if we get to host that game instead of going all the way to Memphis this year. And
Definitely. That's a goal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And crowds have been excellent.
Have been excellent crowds.
I am excited. It's been excellent both on the road and here.
Yes, it sure has.
Well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to preview a couple of games that are coming up. The schedule kind of lightens here because we're getting close to Christmas, if you hadn't noticed, folks. We're getting very close. You're probably out there gift buying and getting ready to spend time with family. There's about a game a week for the next 3 weeks, which I don't know if that's normal or if that's something new this year. It doesn't feel like it's the same as last year.
No, I hate it.
Oh,
because I want to play.
I know
I want to play games, but it's just the way the schedule pans out when it gets towards Christmas.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to play. It's hard to find games, and so that's just kind of how it pans out. Because even though we play one game this week and one, then once we get to Christmas, we play 3 in a row.
Yes.
And then it gets back to normal.
And it starts looking like a lot of your district and region games start coming into play there too at the end of the season.
Right.
So a lot of folks, you made the statement, which is kind of, I think, your college coming out in you when you say preseason. People are like, preseason? Wait a minute. Well, you're referring to, we're not playing those district games yet.
Right.
And a lot of these college coaches will say that. SEC teams out here playing other people. When we get to the SEC is when we say that's regular season.
Yes, sir. I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I mean
when
we talk about that, because again, for us, it's all about preparing for our district season and the region and trying to get a chance to play for a state championship. That's what it's all about. That's why we schedule the way we do.
Yes.
And right now the schedule's working out in our favor, because actually we're doing as good or as better than we thought we would be at this point.
Fantastic. I just wanted to kind of get you to clarify that. I had somebody send me a note after that game interview the other night. They were like, well, when does the regular season start? Well, I mean, technically, we're in the regular season, but we haven't started playing those games that really matter a lot yet. So we'll be right back here in just one moment. We're going to preview coming up Dyersburg, Peabody, and Obion County. These are some big games coming up, and the Humboldt Vikings have a chance to continue to make a statement on the big stage. We'll be right back. Welcome back in to Inside Humboldt Basketball with head coach Ronald Abernathy, episode 2 of the 24-25 season, and the Humboldt Vikings have jumped out to a 6-2 record and losing games. I'll just kind of give you scores. They opened the season on the road at Union City 65-61, came back home and defeated Haywood 57-56, Gibson County 59-53, then traveled to Covington and won 48-47, came from behind as far as 21 points, if my memory serves me correctly. And then we had the Jerry Peters Classic, defeated Westwood 63-44, fell to MUS 60-49, lost to Jackson County 72-40, and then we defeated Hamilton, and that one was that 80-47? I may be wrong on that one. It might be in the 60 range. I'll pull that score sheet and I'll correct that in just a moment while you're talking here. I know you're hosting Dyersburg tomorrow night, and Dyersburg, they're a big school, another one of those 2A, 3A schools that were played.
Yes.
To stretch us, what are you looking for? I know you're probably going to say the same things. You know, we're still looking for consistency, and you want to see that team that played the other night stack those wins. You know, obviously you beat Hamilton pretty handedly.
Right.
You want to come in here and obviously get a big home win.
Yes, we definitely do. It's a home game for us, and we want to defend our home territory. And, of course, Dyersburg is good, and, of course, they are 2A?
I think they are, yes.
I think Dyersburg is 2A, another bigger school, but, we're looking to be able to compete to get better.
Okay, I pulled that score, and that score, I was close. 81 on our side, I was close, but the other team had 65.
Okay.
So, we defeated Memphis Hamilton there. Dyersburg, especially their girls program, I've noticed, has really gotten a lot of attention as of late. But are their boys going to be built more around the big man, or are they going to try to run the court with you as far as speed?
No, they're going to go to him.
Okay.
They're going to go to him, and as they should.
Yes.
And, of course, we'll try to counter that with front court defense and making them move and making them run. And, of course, again, it'll be another good game for us.
Yeah. Then you play Peabody coming up December the 16th.
Right.
Peabody has they haven't played that many games. I'm looking here. They really have not played a lot as far as in the season. They're 3-0. They're undefeated right now. They beat South Gibson 62-53. Well, there's some scores that haven't been reported. That's the problem. Okay, so they played Union City. They've played Crockett County. They got a win over Crockett County. So this is a team that from all appearances here, looking at their schedule, is going to be another good challenge for us. Peabody's always played us well.
Oh, yeah.
Even on the years that they didn't have that good of a team, they played us well.
Throw out the records
when
it's Peabody and Humboldt.
Yeah.
Just throw out the records, and whatever you get on the court is what you're going to get.
That's right.
Because, it's going to be a high-packed, emotional basketball game. It's going to be at Peabody. So, you throw out the records.
And when you play a team like this, both sides are very familiar with each other.
Right.
They know what each other's bringing. Coach, I know when you first started coaching, social media wasn't as big as it is now.
Right.
And it's a challenge. I know before the Haywood game, my God, there was so much chatter. Now, thankfully, I didn't see your players involved in it. But on social media, I was just like, to be honest with you, I didn't know how the crowd was going to be. I didn't know how that was going to play out. Like, if it was going to get ugly, people showing out, forgetting it is a game,
Right.
But there always is that between Peabody and Humboldt. When you go there, there's so much familiarity because there's people that played in Peabody, but now they either coach or they teach here at Humboldt, and vice versa.
Right.
That familiarity. Do you approach that game with an extra emphasis on focus, or how do you handle a game like Peabody?
Well, you do focus, on being in tune and focused on being in the right mindset. And, of course, we like to teach our players to, to play even, to play hard, to play smart, to play together. I don't like my teams to be all emotional. A lot of times you see, teams jump out on folks and all of the emotions expend on fist bumping and all that. And I don't like that. I just want us to continue to play. Whether you're up 20 or you're down 20, you continue to play.
Yeah.
And that's what we kind of teach.
And that's crucial too to keeping silly fouls from happening. Because when emotions start showing on the court, then you make dumb decisions.
You do, and we like to try to play even.
Yeah.
Of course, when people play us, so that Humboldt ignites something in people that we get their best game. We get the best outing from any time that they say Humboldt and we play whether it's home or away, we always get everybody's best effort.
Now, I look at the next game, Obion County. Is that a new team on the schedule this year?
No, that would be in the tournament.
Oh, okay. That's in the tournament.
That will be in the tournament.
That's right, December 27th. Yeah. So let's back out of that because we were going to talk the tournament later. We'll do that on another week.
Right.
So Dyersburg and Peabody is what we've got. Dyersburg is tomorrow night, folks.
Yes.
And it will be boys and girls. So action will start at 6 o'clock.
Well, actually, there's a JV game. Boys.
There is a JV game at 5.
At 4:30, I believe.
Really?
I think it is.
Okay.
It's a boys JV game at 4:30.
So get here early. You get a lot of basketball tomorrow night.
Yes.
And Chance Baskerville, we may have him some help as well, but he's going to be bringing you that game tomorrow evening. And both boys and girls. We won't broadcast the JV, but we will start with the girls' action at 6 o'clock here on Viking News On Demand. You can find it on the website as well, VikingNewsOnDemand.com. Social media, we post the links to YouTube on Facebook, but we are primarily on Facebook and our website, and if you can't make it to the game, we'd encourage you to come because there's no substitute like being in the room, and it's just an atmosphere unlike any other. But if you can't make it or you live too far away and you're following the team from home, then watch us online. Make sure you see that game. And then Peabody on December the 16th. Now, is that a Monday or a Tuesday?
That is a Monday.
I think that's a Monday night.
That is a Monday night.
Because I was trying to figure out how I was going to take pictures at the junior high game and broadcast that Peabody game. But I'm going to be at Peabody. I may have to send somebody with a camera somewhere, but I want to be at that Peabody game because that's a big one for us.
That's a big one. It's going to be a good one.
And I love the way that arena is set up.
Right.
Where you have that around the top.
Right, you do.
You know, that just kind of adds a little different flavor to the game. Well, Coach, obviously we said earlier in the show we're happy with where we are. You've coached long enough to know kids can easily settle in to a mindset that they count games off.
Right.
How do you combat that as a coach? As we wrap up tonight.
Well, again, we teach one game at a time.
Okay.
And focus on one game at a time. We try the utmost not to look ahead. And only talk about one game at a time. And we've done a pretty good job of that, of playing one game at a time.
Yeah.
And we've done a pretty good job of that.
And when you talk game planning, is it true that, you're either going to have a handful of styles of basketball that you're going to play against.
Right.
So the game planning maybe is not as hard a couple of days out? Or do you start game planning longer than that?
Well, what we do when you say game plans, my career here, I had kind of had fans who said, what's the game plan? And it's so funny because, if you ask a person or a fan what a game plan is, they wouldn't know.
No.
They wouldn't have a clue
of
how you started. But we actually kind of, implement what we're doing on a regular basis. And then each individual team has a special game plan.
Sure.
Which includes the personnel, which includes maybe their offense or what kind of defense they're trying to play. And of course, we don't get real caught up in what they're doing.
Okay.
We really like to focus in on doing what we do well.
Right.
Now, it also helps to see some sets. It helps to know personnel. But we really bank our game plan on the fact of what we do what we do well, okay? And the outcome will be good.
I think that we're game planning too. A lot of people just think it's the same for every sport, but it is different.
It's very different.
Yeah, and so the media sometimes can get caught up in that where, this team's going to do this well, and so they think that the team has to adjust to stop that. But like you're saying, if you do what you do well,
right,
it doesn't matter what the other team does.
No, and that's a real key. That's a real key because you can. And I've seen teams and I've seen coaches get so enamored with what the other team's doing they forget to do what you do well.
Yeah.
And that's just something that we don't do. We want to make sure we are carrying out our game plan, doing what we do well.
Yes, sir.
And just taking a little bit from what they do. I see to make the game plan.
Appreciate your all access on this Monday evening as we do another episode here of Inside Humboldt Basketball with head coach Ronald Abernathy. And hopefully by the time we sit down next week, we'll be 7-2 and talking about going into Peabody with a little more momentum.
Yes.
And we may break down that Peabody game a little bit more next week, but we will focus more also on the Christmas tournament because that week we may not be able to do a show on that Monday. So we'll try to do 2 shows in one, I guess you could say, next week and talk about the Christmas tournaments. We've got girls going to a girls-only tournament. Boys are going to be playing in a Christmas tournament as well. And so we'll break down all of those games. Thank you again, Coach, for taking time for us.
Thank you.